Emotional to physical affair, Part 3, ending. All other parts down below. Overall, I'm not sure how I feel. The anger has been mostly sapped from me. I'm still mad at what she's doing, what she's done. I still look at her and see a quitter. Yet I can also see that she's hurting over it, and that she regrets it. That makes it hard to hate. As I said, her support from her family is pretty thin. She's lost some of her oldest childhood friends. I'm sure she feels a little abandoned herself, so no wonder she got pushed into a rebound. I still don't regret exposing. I still think it was the right thing to do. Yet I'd be lying if I didn't feel a little guilt over it. I don't feel hopeful, no more than I have been. Anyway, I still hope her to come around one day. Certainly, no time soon. Maybe never. And even if she did, I'm not sure I could go back. But as I said, I feel like I'll be okay with any outcome there. I can't say I really feel sad, either. She didn't tell me anything new that I didn't already hear or know, besides that they're having fun, which was my own damn fault. And that's more jealousy than sadness. I just feel, okay, I don't know what that means. Am I finally getting around to acceptance? Seems kind of soon. Is this roller coaster just stuck on the tracks right now, down for maintenance, and will start up again tomorrow? Or is this just a side effect of spending time and talking to her? The high of a drug that will soon wear off and leave me back between anger and despair. I guess we'll see what tomorrow brings. I read back what I typed, and I realize most of this has been about her. Analyzing her actions and words, trying to figure out what she's doing. It's hard to stop doing, but you're right. I can't fix her. Maybe she doesn't really need fixing at all. I know I do though. Part of my problem was the idea that this split was a competition, and I had to go out and be happier and live life fuller than she was. Maybe that's a common pitfall. I don't know. But she's an extrovert with a huge circle of friends, and she's out all the time. That's not me. I have a smaller, closer-knit circle, and as an introvert, I often would rather be by myself anyway. So, it felt like anything I would do would be paling in comparison to what she was doing. That if she were somehow able to see me sitting around playing video games or enjoying a good book while she was out on the town, she'd have pity for me or something. As stupid as that sounds. So, I just get trapped reading online, thinking about her. Looking at the clock saying, wonder where she is right now. Now I'm starting to realize, that's a ridiculous way to look at things. I have things that make me happy, I should just do them. Who cares what she's doing? And from last night's talk, it certainly doesn't seem that her life is as happy right now as I was imagining it to be. Not that I should care about that either, but it helps a little. My PS4 has been sitting here gathering dust since mid-December. I have a bunch of games from Christmas to play, but just haven't felt like doing it. Again, maybe the idea that it would be considered lame compared to whatever she's doing. Screw it, I like gaming, and it'll serve as a nice distraction anyway. I need to dig my telescope out of the basement and get back outside on the next clear night. That's always been my way of getting away from it all, and I need to do it again. I've just made excuses recently, too cold, too tired, whatever. None of that stopped me from using it last winter. Shouldn't stop me now. I'm going to get a guitar and learn it. I tried as a teen, never stuck with it. My STBX said she wanted to learn a few months ago. Got her a really nice acoustic, about $400. Figure that if she didn't take to it, I'd use it, and even if she did commit to it, I would just try to learn it when she wasn't using it. Of course, she has it now, and in her own words, hasn't had the time to do anything with it. Likely never will. What a waste. That's fine, I'll get my own. I'm starting school in a month. My company is sending me back for a comp sci degree. I was supposed to start this back in January, but for obvious reasons I delayed enrolling. I'm looking forward to this now. It'll force me to put my focus elsewhere. And I'll feel like I'm really moving towards accomplishing something and bettering myself. Socially, I do need to get out more, expand that circle a little bit. I don't need a gigantic support network, but I also know I can't be isolated. An old buddy invited me out for some drinks tonight with some of his co-workers. A few months ago, being with her, I would have blown it off, said maybe next time. Took him up on it though, meet a few new people. I've been doing well reconnecting with old friends. Meeting new people will be tougher. Never been good at it, for a number of reasons, and it's a huge step out of my comfort zone. Today I'm still feeling the same as last night. Not terribly sad, not terribly angry. I'm still a little resentful of what she's done, how she quit, why I'm here. I don't know if that will ever really fade, short of her wanting to attempt our, but the anger is down a lot from where it was a few days ago. I can't say I'm happy, but right now I'm content, and for now I'm glad the roller coaster has ceased, although I'm sure it's temporary. Part of me fears I may still be in shock from what I learned last night. The mind movies of her in Rebound have been the worst part of last night and today. I can't believe I brought that on myself last night. A literal 2x4 to the head would feel better. I mean, I had already kind of assumed they were being intimate. I mean, if you're going out with someone, it's kind of implied, but at least I didn't know. And I could try to convince myself that she might not be ready for that yet. Now I know, and I can't unknow it. Kind of like continuing to check a Facebook account for updates from a recent ex. You know there's nothing to find there but pain, but you keep picking at it anyway, and eventually you see something you can't unsee, and you wonder why you did it to yourself. Sometimes I'm able to easily block them out and focus on something else. Other times I find myself dwelling for a few minutes, and asking myself questions I don't want answers to. Is he better? Is she enjoying it more? Are they trying things we didn't? And eventually I get to the point where my entire body just feels cold and numb, and I have to get up and take a walk and do something. Anything to think of something else. And on a logical level, I know this is all stupid. I mean, I certainly can't expect her to be celibate for the rest of her life. No more than I would expect myself to be. And I'm sure the movies I'm playing in my head are much more passionate, fantastic than they actually are in real life. I guess it's a mix of jealousy over someone else having her body, and sadness that she, with all of her insecurities about the way she looks, has opened herself up completely to someone else in such a short time. Part of me wonders if I just need a casual encounter of my own to get it out of my system, but I've never been that kind of guy. And I doubt it would really make me feel any better. I know this isn't quite the same as a BS having to deal with mind movies of their WS and the other person, but to those who have been in that boat, how did you deal with this? When I've tried to detach, stick to business only, etc., she just jumps to the conclusion that I'm angry, I hate her, I want nothing to do with her. And then she just shuts down and pulls away herself. I'm not sure if this is a game she plays, knowingly or unknowingly, calling my bluff, trying to see if I'm still there and will reassure her. Not sure if I should just let her throw her tantrum and stay dispassionate, because obviously reassurance defeats the purpose for both me and her. It probably doesn't help that early on in the separation, and after learning all the details of her PA, I did write more than a couple angry emails, texts. I failed the 180 terribly on that part, and I'm making sure I don't do that anymore. But it's very hard to display happiness, confidence, and all the rest when you're just not speaking to each other. And there's really not a whole lot of business matters left to discuss, so the excuses to talk are becoming few and farther between. I know the steps in the 180 are supposed to be counterintuitive, but now more than ever a lot of it feels wrong. I'm not saying I would initiate conversation or hit her up every day trying to talk. That's not good for me or for her. Not at this point anyway. She hasn't said anything to me today, and if I hear nothing from her for the next week, I'm okay with that. But if she feels a need to talk to me for whatever reason, I think giving her some kind of warm, happy, confident conversation would go farther than a cold shoulder. I could very well be wrong. I will find someone much better than the person my wife is right now. I still miss who she was, and I still hope that she would re-emerge, as unlikely as that is. I know many will say the woman I idolized never existed in the first place. Maybe that's true. For now, though, she still felt real enough to me. So, it's like dealing with two different people, grieving the loss of my wife, while dealing with the anger, resentment towards the person who replaced her. Little bit of anger again today, at myself and at her. I reached out yesterday about rent money she owed, and after she replied, I added thanks for sitting down the other night. I'm sure it wasn't easy to say some of those things, but I'm glad you did. Talk to you soon. And, nothing in the 36 hours since. I shouldn't have done that, and maybe I shouldn't expect anything back, but not even a thanks for hearing me out, or something along those lines. I don't know. I can't help feeling like I was used. She got her chance to clear her conscience, and now she has no need to talk to me, which is fine. I'm certainly not going to chase or keep reaching out. I know I shouldn't keep the focus on her, but I have spent some time recently trying to focus on her flaws, knock her off the pedestal, so to speak, maybe trying to convince myself that I wasn't as happy as I'd like to think either. She had a hell of a temper, often would snap at me like I was the damn dog. If she was under stress of some kind, say, looking for her keys and couldn't find them, and I'd offer up, have you checked such and such place? I'd get back, of course I checked there, in this tone that would just make me shut down. Sometimes she would notice right away and apologize, more often she wouldn't, and I would just try to shake it off and avoid an argument. Doormat tendencies, I guess, got worse and worse towards the end, and when I brought it up in one of our final arguments, she actually believed she had gotten better at it, and hadn't done it in a couple of years. Nope, not true. Compulsive overspender. We never really picked someone to run the finances. I just kind of assumed the role, and was fine with that. We agreed to one rule: if one of us was planning to spend more than a certain amount, we'd run it by each other first, not for permission per se, but simply so I could check the accounts and move around money, bills if needed. In 8 years, I never once told her not to anything she wanted, and in actuality she probably was spoiled. She always blew this rule off, and I'd get blindsided by multi-$100 shopping sprees. Most of the time she'd come home with several bags of clothes, shoes, I'd ask how much she spent, and she couldn't even remember. I'd get frustrated, revisit our rule, she'd apologize and agree to do it next time. Rinse and repeat. At one point towards the end, we briefly talked about opening separate spending accounts that we could put money into and spend freely. And she was open to the idea, but I didn't want to feel like I was controlling or treating her like a child. Doormat again. Well, those are her problems now, and I'm sure it'll be a tough adjustment for her. Physically, totally incompatible. Desires totally mismatched. I can count on one hand the number of times she initiated in 8 years, despite me telling her so many times how I'd like that. She probably would have been content to go months without if I didn't initiate. The bonding was good, don't get me wrong, but bland, routine, even. No attempts to spice it up worked. Anything outside of the normal was discouraged. Nothing special in 8 years, and taking care of your own needs might as well have been grounds for divorce. Duck. I wonder how many men in my position would have been driven to cheat themselves. Sorry, not sure if any of that is too graphic for this forum. I digress. Very little compromise on her end. She would make up her own rules and guidelines, and if I disagreed or thought they were maybe a little unfair, I was accused of a lack of empathy, that it meant a lot to her, so I should just do it, even if I couldn't understand why. One example, we both smoked. Her rule was no smoking in the apartment. I obliged most of the time, but if it was extremely cold out, or bad weather, I would sometimes sneak one with a door or window cracked open. When I got caught, it was a huge deal to her, a lack of respect towards her, as she put it. And I'm not saying she was wrong, but when I look at the above list, and all the things that I was frustrated by, and her lack of empathy, I realize she's much better at giving that advice than taking it for herself. That's a start, anyway. I'm sure I could come up with more if I gave myself more time to. And while I still fully admit to my own flaws and things I did wrong, maybe I'll write those down later. I think it's important for me to realize that she wasn't perfect either or is not worth the isolation I'm giving her. Looking forward to the weekend. I think it's the first time since New Year's that I've genuinely been excited for anything. I don't even have any firm plans yet, but my resolution is this: to take a break. I haven't done that since New Year's either, or I need to. Just a couple days of no internet, getting off Facebook, stop unloading on friends and family about everything I'm going through, and just clearing my mind of all of this. Of course, as soon as I'm ready to start my take a break weekend, she makes contact. Email asking me about how to set up internet, TV, utilities at her new place. What level of internet speed is considered good? At our old apartment, did we pay for water and electricity separately? Are there any utilities to pay for besides those? Etc. All with a very cheery disposition, and a hope that we can meet up again soon to exchange the money she owes me. Not sure how to play this one. Blows me off for 2 days, and when she needs my help again, there she is. My initial reaction is, you threw me aside. I'm not here to help you with any of this stuff anymore. Not to mention that all of those questions can be answered with a quick Google search and a quick call to her leasing office. She has to know that, so why is she bothering me with it at all? Just to see if I'm willing to help, or see what kind of mood I've been in since our sit-down. I wouldn't blame her for that, since I haven't done a great job of hiding my angry mood swings from her in the past. At the same time, it does come across as somewhat manipulative of her. Do I help her out here, showing her that I can be friendly, only to have her then cease contact again until she needs something else from me? Or do I ignore it, sending her the message that she has to do these things on her own now, which she will then probably interpret as me being angry, hating her, and she'll pull away again? Or do I reply and just be honest, telling her that I'm not angry, but I'm not going to help you with this, and then let her react as she chooses? Or is that being too much of a pain? Duck. I am so tired of overanalyzing all of this and feeling like I'm on eggshells each time we talk. This is what she wanted, she's thrown all of this away, and then still expects to turn to me to help her with this, that, and the other. Not sure if that's her trying to tug on my string to see if I'm still there, or if it's some kind of automatic response still in her mind to come to me for help first. I should have told her to ask her boyfriend, but I chose door number 3. Told her that she was going to have a lot of these kinds of questions, and I didn't feel comfortable playing the role of advisor, guide, helping her set up a new life without me, that I'm not trying to be a prick, and as much as I still wanted to take care of her, this is what she wanted, and I can't do that for her. She wrote back and told me that she understood completely, didn't blame me, and wished me a good weekend. 180 and other strategies aside, I think sometimes it's still best to just say what's on your mind. It's an unfair position to put me in, and if my best friend and the woman I loved was still buried anywhere inside of the teenager she's become, she would understand that. And she did. I still have the PI set to tail her this weekend and get proof of adultery between her and her new boyfriend. That, coupled with their relationship being plastered all over her FB profile, should give me a slam dunk. Once I have it, I can file immediately, and be totally done within a couple months. Otherwise, my state mandates a year of separation before filing no fault. I could handle my best friend divorcing me if we exhausted all options and decided this simply couldn't work. I'd still be crushed, but I'd eventually get over it and be fine. It's the affair, the trashing me behind my back, the quitting without trying to resolve anything, that will take a long time to get over. I may never be able to do it. She knows this, and I've told her that if I find out I just can't be friends with her ever again. It's her doing for taking the coward's way out. I'd like to think it's not guilt so much as it is that she really does care about me, but simply does not find us compatible as a husband-wife pair. Maybe she's right, but I would have at least liked a chance to try and address the issues. For our entire 8 years together, she was always a weekday 9-to-5 worker. For 7 of those years, I worked a much odder schedule. Some nights, weekends, for a long time I was doing overnight shifts on Saturdays. This actually helped mask this difference. She could go out and have her social needs met, and not feel bad about leaving me behind, because I was at work. On the other side, I would get a couple days off during the week, while she was working, and this was my alone time to recharge my batteries and enjoy my own company, without feeling bad about it because she was at work. We both had this separate time to do what we wanted, and therefore made the most of the time during the week that we spent together. In July last year, I got a promotion and moved to a weekday 9-to-5 schedule. We were both excited about it because we would now get a lot more time together. Entire weekends, etc. For a couple months it was great. And we were out and about all the time. After a while, it started to drain me, and I think we both started to feel guilty about it. Now if I wanted some time to myself, I couldn't get that without actively choosing myself over her or her social outings. And there was a lot of guilt that went with that. And if she wanted to go out on a Friday with a group of people and I simply wasn't feeling it, she was then forced to choose them or me, and I'm sure she felt crappy about that too. There were other issues at play between us. The stress of my new job at the same time surely didn't help, but I think this personality clash only helped us grow apart faster, and I don't think either of us actually realized what was going on or why. I never put it together until just now. And I'm sure she hasn't thought about it at all. Maybe that means we were fundamentally incompatible, but I'm sure there are plenty of happy married couples who have the same extrovert difference. More likely, we should have recognized it, talked it out, and tried to reach some kind of compromise. Instead, we just ended up leading separate lives towards the end, and it's no surprise that an OM wormed his way into the marriage. I have to accept some fault in letting it get to that point, but then again, so does she. Email from the PI this morning. Says he got plenty of evidence of PDA last night and would go over more in detail tomorrow. Assume I'm going to get to look at some pictures or video. That's going to be tough. Doesn't sound like he got evidence of them spending the night together though. STBX made it pretty clear that they were going to be crashing at his place, which is where I told the PI to stake out. But looking at FB this morning, I see photos of him and her at our apartment. Must have gone there instead. Photos of him playing with our dog, knowing they slept in our bed. It should be a kick in the gut, but instead it's a kick in the ass. I know I need to file now. It's probably going to cost me some more money to get the last piece of proof. PI will need to repeat this next weekend, but that's fine. It's funny, the worst pain was realizing how much I miss the dog. I've tried putting her out of sight, out of mind the last 2 months. But that picture brought it all back. Top priority once I have my new place, new dog. I'm not going to sit around waiting a year for a no-fault filing. Right now, she wants no alimony, because she's excited about her freedom. And actually said she's excited to struggle financially. I understand that sentiment. It'll be fun for a month or two. Then it won't be anymore. Then all I need is MIL, or one of her cheerleader friends planting a bug in her ear, and all hell will break loose. Nope, getting out before that happens. I see the pictures she's posted over the last couple days. I really don't find her that attractive anymore. Objectively, she's lost a ton of weight in recent months, and looks better than she ever has. But it doesn't really do anything for me. Had the same feeling sitting down at dinner last night. I just see her as a stranger, like that song Somebody That I Used to Know. I take that as a good sign, and I hope it continues. Meant to go to church this morning, but last night was a late one. Perks of single life, I suppose. Do, or don't do, whatever I want whenever I want. Kind of nice. I tailed them Sarah and got evidence of all the PDA I'll need. Haven't been sent any pics, video yet, which is fine. Not looking forward to seeing it, really. He has yet to catch them spending the night somewhere together. It's the last piece of the puzzle I need. Hopefully get it this week. Met her at our apartment tonight, since she was already going to be there packing her things. She needed to give me rent money, and I was supposed to bring one of the 2 TVs I took when I moved out. I forgot to bring it, of course. I plan on holding on to it until I get all the rent money from her that I'm owed. I get there, and she's in the bedroom, crying. I ask her what's wrong, but I made no move to comfort her or console her. She tells me she had started to sort through photos of us to pack up, and everything had started to catch up with her. I left all those photos there when I moved, because if she's truly done, why would I want them? In her haste to run away at full speed, she hadn't made any effort to come back and pack up anything, but I knew when she did, it wouldn't be easy. She still remained adamant that she was doing the right thing, but cried about all the friends and family. My family. That she's lost, how she's hurt me, how her life is suddenly so different now. Not bad, but different. Of course, it is. After the smoke clears from her wreckage, the only circle of friends she really has left are her boyfriend and his friends. I told her that I could understand that being overwhelming and left it at that. After she calmed down, we grabbed a quick bite to eat. I pried some info out of her about her weekend plans, helped her pack for a little bit, and then left. As I've also found out through various sources, she's going down the same path with her boyfriend. Immediate intimacy divided by whirlwind. At the beginning of this month, she told him she loved him, before they were even official. He didn't say it back, because he has common sense, but she doesn't regret saying it, because life's too short not to say how you feel. She's already dragged him to meet her family. It's like watching me and her all over again. At this point, I don't know if this guy is actually getting reeled in by this, or if he knows she's vulnerable and using her for the great sex part of the list. Not that it's my problem either way. After seeing this so clearly, I'm conflicted as to how I feel about it. On one hand, I married crazy. It's a bit of a relief. I had my faults and shortcomings, but her own problems are so much bigger than mine that we eventually would have ended up here even if I had been a flawless husband. I can't fix her. I'm just going to work on myself. And her problems are now the new guys, and then the next guys, and then the next guys. And on the other hand, I see now that this relationship is doomed. Either she will end up sabotaging it by moving way too fast when he's apparently not reciprocating, or he is using her, and he'll get tired of it and move on, or it'll just fall apart after the honeymoon phase like most rebounds do. Either way, once it breaks, she'll be left down in the dumps with virtually no friends, and no guy to latch onto. Her greener grass will end up being mud, and all of a sudden, all the decisions she's made that she knew were right, she'll suddenly be a little unsure of. And if, when that happens, 2x4 time, I'm not sure I've totally shut the door on the idea of it would have to be a very slow process. Total opposite of our original courtship, and if at any point she was impatient or offended about that, she could hit the bricks. I'd need to see real changes from her, and now I would know what those are. She would need some IC of her own. In reality, it would be more likely to fail than succeed, but right now I'd be lying to myself if I said I wouldn't at least try. Then again, let's see how I feel 3 months, 6 months down the road, or whenever her bubble bursts. That also makes me unsure about filing now. I'm still going to have the PI follow this through and have it in my back pocket if she changes her mind on alimony or anything else. But I don't know if filing a SAP nets me anything positive. I think I may be better served just totally detaching from her for a good 2-4 months. No contact at all. Work on myself while she plays out her fantasy. See where it goes. Like I said, by that time I may be totally done myself, and not interested in but until that time, I can't slam the door shut until I'm really ready to do so, and it seems like I need that few months of NC for myself. As well, it seems like every time I spend an evening with her, I only wind up in a fog of my own. I can't do that to myself anymore. I forgot to mention that when we met up last week, I broke away for a minute to retrieve a VAR from her car. I had put it in there way back early on in the separation, trying to prove the affair between her and OM1. I had forgotten all about it until now but wanted to grab it before she found it and assumed I had planted it more recently. I got home that night and threw it on the dresser and forgot about it. Figured there was nothing in there I needed to hear now. But then, against better judgment, I listened to it yesterday. A lot of it was conversation between her and OM2, and it's amazing to me what a wall will say or lie about to make themselves feel better. First, some quick backstory. Early on in our marriage, we were flat damn broke. Like, borrowing $40 from her parents on a Tuesday, so we could eat until Friday and pay them back kind of broke. When we joined our finances, we both had a few credit cards, small, store cards mostly, all limits of $500 to $800. They were all maxed, and most months I simply couldn't keep up with them all. Some of it was naivety, struggles of two people learning to budget together. A lot of it was simply not having funds. Both of our credit ratings took a huge hit. Eventually I liquidated my retirement at work, got a few grand, and finally cleared it all out, then started a new retirement account. How she spins this. She thinks I intentionally ignored those cards and intentionally sabotaged her credit. Part of my control over her, keeping her from leaving by making her financially unable to leave. Of course, her boyfriend agreed wholeheartedly. It's revisionist history to a degree I can't even comprehend. And even better, she's just a flat-out liar. She talked to him about how after she left, her first order of business was fixing her credit. So, she immediately signed up for a credit monitoring service to keep tabs on things. Her boyfriend commended her on her responsibility and taking back control of her financial situation. I actually laughed out loud while I was listening. I signed us both up for that service years ago, after clearing our debts, so that I could monitor and work on rebuilding both of our credit scores. She totally forgot it existed at all until we were splitting up our finances. And I reminded her that she needed to cancel it or change the billing info to her new account. I've seen stories of the couples who decided they weren't right for each other, split amicably, and remained close friends afterwards. Initially, I wanted that really badly, even if we weren't destined to remain husband and wife. I could have at least settled for best friends. But, once you factor in everything, the lies, cheating, trashing me behind my back, why bother? When I first confronted her about the trash talk, she gave me some bull about how she had lost herself for a while. And that wasn't her. And that wasn't what she really thought of me. And she was so sorry. Well, now I can see that it's still going on. So, either she truly believes that kind of crap about me, that I intentionally tanked her credit to keep her prisoner. In which case, why does she have any interest in being friends, just dangling me along to get more out of me and keep me on a string until the D is final, easing guilt? Or is she deliberately lying and distorting the past so that she can manipulate her new boyfriend into a rescuer, so that he'll give her the moon? Or maybe a little bit of both. I'll probably never know. I don't even care enough to try to overanalyze it. All I know is that whatever the reason for her whitewashing, it's not a quality I would want in a friend. Strange morning. Woke up in a funk, couldn't pull myself out of bed. A voice in my head saying that whatever happened today, none of it was going to make me happy. Why bother? Just a huge weight on my chest. I felt like I had backslid the whole way back to the day she left, and I couldn't figure out why. Without even really thinking too hard about it, in my head I said, you have no idea what today will bring. Make yourself happy. And that's all it took. I've had an extra bounce in my step all morning. A renewed energy that I haven't felt in months. I feel good. She hasn't been dominating my thoughts anymore. Been that way for a few days now. And when I do think about her, I see her faults and flaws as clearly as I remember the good qualities. She's off the pedestal. Just a girl. I still idolize the woman I fell in love with and married. But I also recognize that she's gone, and possibly never existed at all. The memory, nothing more. Got to work, logged onto Verizon first thing, and blocked her number. I don't need to hear from her. She still owes me money towards our apartment. She can mail me the check. Otherwise, there's no need for communication. She's not getting any more property from me, no more concessions. No more help setting up her online bill pay, or her wireless internet, or her computer. I don't care what she thinks about that. I don't care what she thinks about me, or how she decides to skew the last 8 years. I don't care if she ever wakes up one day and regrets this. I'm cutting the strings. Detached. I'm not even reacting out of anger anymore. I just feel totally indifferent. Hoping to hear from the PI today. I want to file a SAP and be done with this. Going to try to do it without a lawyer. No kids, no property to divide, and she's far too destitute right now to hire her own counsel. Now I have to take the focus off of her, and back onto me. I've been saying that, haven't been doing it. I truly feel ready to do it now. I want to find out who I am. Never been truly on my own before. I went from under my parents' roof, to under her parents' roof for a short time, to our own place. I'm looking forward to single life. It's scary and exciting at the same time. I do miss the dog though. Think I'm more upset about that loss than anything else at this point. As strange as it sounds. I'm getting pissed, because this has been 9 weeks of separation now, and for every day up until yesterday. All I did was roll over, stay out of her way, jump when she said to, give her whatever property, possessions she decided she wanted, offered to help her pay for things she couldn't afford on her own, like the taxes she now owes because she wanted to file separately. And now, after putting up a single boundary, I'm the bad guy. I'm pissed at myself for doing any of this in the first place. Already knowing what she was saying about me behind my back. What she was doing behind my back. I know now that I was doing it to try to win her over. Not sure if I was trying to win her back as a wife, or a friend, but I know I was doing it all to heighten her opinion of me and keep her happy at my own expense. The things being said, things I'm accused of now are just so far beyond the pale. I shouldn't care, but I can't help it. I deliberately ruined her credit to keep her trapped. Apparently, I have a secret savings account that I've been funneling our money into for years. This one is just funny. If it exists, I'd love to know. Apparently, I did that in my sleep. I'm demanding rent money now. While she's broke, because I want her to be miserable. It's as if she knows she can't claim she was physically X. No one would believe that, or emotionally X. No one will believe that either. So she'll go the route of financial abuse. And I don't know if she's saying these things to garner sympathy and support, or if she's convinced herself they're true to ease her own guilt. Not that it matters either way. It's not okay. And now I find myself painted into a corner where I can't win. Door number 1, I continue to wait out our mandatory 1-year separation, having slung at my back, have her run around with her boyfriend, while I try to move on with a boat anchor around my neck. Do this for the next 9 months and pray that she doesn't wake up one day and decide she wants alimony, or access to my retirement accounts, or whatever else she's legally entitled to. Or worse, she gets knocked up by this guy, and I find myself in a potential legal nightmare of support claims and paternity tests. Door number 2, I take my proof of adultery and file now. Not to tar and feather her, but because it's the only way in my state to circumvent the 12-month separation and allows me to cut the anchor and move on faster. But of course, no one will see it that way, and I'll cement my reputation as the monster. Of course, the correct answer is whatever I want, and opinions be damned. I'm not sure what this is yet, though, and though I still lean to door number 2, I'm not sure why I'm not sure lol. Still trying to make her happy, worried about my own reputation or what others think. Both. Some meditation is needed. Retain my lawyer today. Originally wasn't even going to go with counsel. Toyed with the idea of doing this myself. But the last thing I want is to drag her to court, only to fail because I wasn't properly prepared. I've come this far, might as well shell out a little bit more to make sure it's done right. Attorney plans on filing early next week. For some reason I assumed it would take longer. Then again, it's a clear-cut case. And there's no children, property, finances to split, so I guess it makes sense. Filling out the intake forms tonight, listing property, debts, misconduct, etc., and it suddenly all became way too real for me. I know this is what I have to do, and at this point, it's what I want to do, but it's still never what I wanted. If that makes sense, I wish we hadn't gotten to this point. I wish the woman I married was still alive. Took a long walk to clear my head, and then finished the paperwork. Spoke to brother-in-law very briefly today. Obviously did not tip him off to anything upcoming. Turns out there has been a family crisis in the past couple days. Sister-in-law lives halfway across the country, and hadn't been in touch with my wife in months. Don't believe sis-in-law was even aware we had split, but no one had any idea how bad things were until mother-in-law finally reached out to wife and bro-in-law a couple days ago. Really saddened to hear that, as I'd always considered myself pretty close with them. As with the rest of wife's family, I'm sure my wife is beside herself. And it's terrible timing, because in the midst of this crisis, here come the D papers. I know I'll look like a total heel, and maybe it is a crappy thing to do. I wonder if I should have the lawyer hold off for a little while. Let this storm pass first. I don't know, but then I remember that as upset as my wife must be, it's not my shoulder she's crying on right now. It's piece of crap boyfriends. That was her choice, so I'll keep moving forward. The sooner this is all over, the better. Weeks later, been a while, filed a couple weeks ago. She was served shortly thereafter, and it went over about as well as I would have expected. She has firmly welded herself into the victim chair, ramping up the woe is me tales and the accusations against me, despite the fact that I am literally asking for nothing in my complaint, other than the dissolution of the marriage. She has retained her own attorney, and is requesting I pay for it. If I don't settle, then she will counterfile under cruel treatment and come after everything she can. Retirement, possibly alimony, etc. I'm livid. Now my options are to either pay her to go prove adultery, or go into court fighting for everything, where I know the odds will already be stacked against me from the start. And she can turn on the tears and spin her sob stories and leave it up to me to disprove and defend. All she had to do was, well, nothing. She could have simply let her 30-day response time run out. I could have moved forward without her. Gotten the divorce finished, without costing her a cent. It's what she wanted, after all. She was perfectly content to go after nothing, wait a year, and file herself. Now all of a sudden, she wants a fight. Then so be it. I will not settle, and I bet she'll run out of money before I do. Just so angry. I've been doing so much better personally, and now that I'm so close to being able to close this chapter, I find myself getting sucked into a bitter fight over I don't even know what. No children, no major assets to speak of, and she'll still bankrupt both of us out of spite. My comment: what an ending. It seems like the marriage is going for a bad landing and bringing them along with it. What do you feel about this? Did OP improve along this series? Sub and bell and let's